Hi, I'm back, and today is a special day for me. My son Eric is coming home from Portland with his new girl that we finally get to meet, and we are so excited. They're in the air right now, flying home, and I've been racking my brain. What could I make that would be like a nice welcome home, not too fancy, because I don't want to spend my time in the kitchen. I want to spend it with them, right? So we have all these turkey leftovers that we need to figure out something to do with. So I came up with a turkey stew with some homemade buttermilk and chive and cheddar biscuits on top. Kind of like a pot pie, but instead of the pie crust, we're going to use the biscuits. And the great part about this is that it can be made ahead of time so that you're not busy in the kitchen while your company's here and you really want to spend your time with them, which is the goal for me today. So what I'm going to do is start out with a large stock pot, you can see here, and then we're going to add about a tablespoon, or I'm sorry, a stick and a half. Yeah, here I go with the butter again, of butter. And we're going to saute our onions in that stick and a half of butter because we're going to create a roux. And people are like, you know, I've heard that term, but I don't really get what a roux is. A roux basically involves fat, starch, and liquid. And, you know, if you're into Creole cooking, that roux cooks for a long time, but we're just making a basic roux. So it's just going to be a cream sauce, but homemade. So super easy to do, and I'm going to walk you through this step by step like I always do. Let's get started cooking. Let's get started with our butter. I know, I'm sorry. But turn on your stock pot and bring up the temperature. Now we're going to add in our butter. Sorry about that. I know I'm gonna have to go on a serious diet after the holidays, but this one's worth it. It's a really good meal, and it makes people feel warm, like home. You know what I mean? One of those dishes that mom makes that no one else can make, but anyone can make this. Just don't tell my kids. Okay. So drop that in. Now we're gonna do a half of a stick, and I'm gonna reserve this other half of the stick for the top of the biscuits to make them nice and brown when they're cooking. And we're gonna pre-make our biscuits as well. We're gonna actually roll them out, but I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but I'll show you that step when we get there. Right now, let's concentrate on the stew. And what I have here is 2 onions, medium size, you know, medium size, diced up. That's it. They're gonna cook in the butter until they're nice and clear, not, you know, firm. We don't want firm. We want nice and clear, but not browned. We just want them to simmer a little bit, okay? So as this butter melts down, this is going to be combined with our flour, but we'll get to that step in a minute. And that's what's going to help begin to create our roux. Now, I need a spatula. My spatulas are always escaping from me. Right in the drawer where I left them. Anyway, get that butter melted down. The great part about this dish is it all cooks in one stock pot, then it goes into a baking dish that we can pop into the oven when we're ready for it. Now, my son is on Portland time, which is 3 hours different from our time, so I'm not sure when they're going to be hungry. You know, sometimes when you have company coming from out of town, you really don't know. It's kind of one of those guessing games. Did they get lunch on a plane? Did they not? Did they eat before they got on the plane? You're not really sure. So I want this dish ready to go when they're ready for it. And the great part about it is that when we're done with it, it's going to cook for 15 minutes in our oven. We're going to put our biscuits on top, and it's going to cook for 15 to 20 minutes more, and dinner's ready. So I'm just going to make a great garden salad to go along with this. And the stew is like ready when we are, which is the best part. Okay, our butter's melted, the onions are going in. We're just going to saute those up, like I said, until they're clear. Not browned, but not crisp, okay? Super easy. Don't you love the smell of onions and butter cooking together? It's like a marriage made in heaven. Okay, those are going to take a couple more minutes. And while we're doing that, what I want you to do is have prepared 3 to 5 cups of turkey, or if you don't have any leftover turkey, you can use chicken, and any kind of chicken. If you only like white breast meat, then you can use that. You can use thighs, you can use drumsticks, whatever's on sale. I'm a big sale girl, so we like all kinds of meat. It doesn't really have to be the white breast meat, but if you're only a white breast meat person, then go ahead and use that. That's fine. I just like to make my leftovers work for me, which is how we save a lot of money in this house. And then from there, you need to have about 5 cups of chicken stock ready to go, and 1 12-ounce bag of mixed vegetables. And I buy the 10 for 10s. I love my sales flyers. Here again, you save a lot of money, but you're gonna need a few more vegetables than that. And you can just add 2 bags of the 12-ounce mixed vegetables, that's fine. But I like more corn and carrots in my stew than I do the peas and green beans. So if you're a pea and carrot person, or if you're a corn and pea person, whatever works for you, but you want to have about 24 ounces, which is going to equate to about 5-6 cups-ish when they're thawed out. Have those ready to go. And then you're also going to need some chicken base. And what I mean, you can use bouillon. Bouillon's loaded with salt, and it doesn't really taste like chicken to me. I like base better. It's lower in salt, but it tastes more like chicken. We just want to pump up that chicken kind of turkey flavor. So we're going to add a little bit of that and some half and half. Now I'm going to use a half a cup of half and half as my starting point, because roux, you know, sometimes they turn out a little thicker, sometimes they turn out a little thinner, and sometimes you have to add a little bit more half and half. Now if you're using heavy whipping cream that was left over from Thanksgiving dinner, that's fine. Just cut the recipe in half, because half and half is named for half of the fat that is in whole whipping cream, right? Okay, let's get those onions a stir and see where we're at. Perfect. Okay. Once your onions are to the tender, crisp, kind of clear spot, go ahead and add in 1/4 cup of flour, and then give it a good stir. This is where the roux creates its base, okay? Don't turn the heat down. You want it to not quite brown, but you want it to cook. This is an important part of the steps in making a roux, okay? Let that simmer down a little bit and have your ingredients ready to go. Now we're going to add salt and pepper to this, and this is going to be to taste, so I'm not going to give you a measurement, but imagine you're going to use quite a bit of leftover turkey or your chicken, quite a bit of stock that's unsalted. If you want low sodium variety, go with the free range organics or go with traditional stock. You're also going to add a lot of vegetables, so the vegetables aren't going to have any salt. So add your salt accordingly. Remember, you can't take it back, but you can always add it at the table. So go light, but I'm going to go ahead and do that, my salt and pepper at this point. And I'm going to go fairly heavy for this one. I normally don't, you know, I'm not a salt girl, but this one, because we have so many ingredients going into this pan, I'm going to be a little bit more generous than I normally would. Scoot that over a little bit. Beautiful. Now this mix should be nice and bubbly in your pan. And the flour, you're going to think, is that enough? Well, You can always add more, but with this mix, you're gonna have to add it with fluid cold, mix it up, then pour it in. But this is a pretty good mixture, like approximate for what we're doing. Oh yeah, that's perfect. And it smells amazing. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and add in our 5 cups of chicken broth or stock, either one. And then 2 teaspoons of our chicken base. If you only have bouillon, don't run to the store for this. You know, just the next time you're in the market to pick up bouillon, pick up a base instead. It works a little bit better, I think, and it's not quite as salty. Give that a good stir and let it come up to heat. This is super, super simple and so good. Oh, you'll love it. Just one of those comfort meals, you know. And the fact that we're using things that we already had is even better, right? I love to stack up on the veggies and the chicken stock and diced tomatoes and beans and things like that that will keep for a very long time, and I can pull them out whenever I need them. You know, in the event that you have company you didn't know was coming, or you know, you get snowed in like we did the other day. We literally got 16 inches in a day of snow. So kind of crazy. You don't want to find yourself in a position where you can't make anything for dinner, especially when company comes in and they may get stuck in. Even better, right? Oh geez, it happens. Okay, now we're going to take our 1/2 cup of half and half or a 1/4 cup of whipping cream, either way, and pour this in. And this is going to create our roux. That is officially a roux. A fat, a starch, a liquid. Perfect. Okay, we're going to bring that up to temperature, and while we do that, we're going to let that happen. Then we're going to start to toss in our vegetables and our meat, and that's the stew. How easy was that? Now we're gonna bring this up to boil. I'm gonna put mine in the fridge so that it's ready to eat when the kids are ready to eat, like I said before. But you can put this right in. That's simple. I know. Who would have thought making a stew was that easy? But in this case, it really is. So let's take a look at it. Not quite up to temperature yet, but I'm going to give it a bit of a stir. It's starting to thicken a little bit, and that's what we want. We want it to thicken. Now, while that's happening, I'm going to take, and it sounds like a lot, but this cracks me up because Spice Chicks got started at the farmers markets, which is a beautiful place for a small business to start. But people would say to me all the time, "No, I have spices that I haven't used in like 5 or 6 years." Those are expired. Number one. Number two, you need to use your spices. Like, this is our perfect princess parsley. If you're using fresh parsley, you're going to use 1/2 cup. If you're using dried, you're going to use 1/4. Now, how can you keep spices around for 5 years if you're using 1/4 cup at a time? I don't get it. But food tastes so much better when you spice it than it does bland. And parsley is one of those things, it adds a lot of color, a little bit of flavor, but it's mostly color. So it's color, it's texture, it makes it look homemade, and it's just a good overall herb. You know, you can grow it, you can preserve it yourself, or you can buy ours on Etsy.com, search the Spice Chicks, and we'll be there. So this is going to go in now. And I'm just going to give it a stir. Lovely. Now, if you want to punch this up a little bit, but you don't want to, overwhelming herb, use basil. Basil is super, super sweet. It's like the sweetest herb on the planet, and it's so versatile. It can go into, you know, Italian dishes or into salads, or, you know, I use basil in so many things, but this one I chose parsley because I wanted to let the vegetables and the meat speak for themselves. If you want to kick it up a notch, go with basil instead of the parsley, but cut it back a little bit. You would only use about 1/8 of a cup of basil instead of the 1/4 of a cup of parsley that we're using right now. Okay, now we're just going to throw in our veggies and our turkey or chicken, whichever one you're using, and we're going to let it simmer. And that's it. I know, so simple. Who'd have thought? Now my dog has been hovering in the kitchen because she is madly in love with this turkey. She thinks that, you know, I'm torturing her. I'm not. She gets all kinds of goodies. Don't tell her dad. Toss in your veggies. I'm using corn and carrots that I put up this year. You know, enjoying my farmers markets that I actually work with. I get all the best stuff. And you can too. Please don't forget about your local farmers. They work so hard. It means so much to them when you come and see them and you buy their produce. And it's the best. It's the cream of the crop. It doesn't get loaded on semis. It gets loaded in the back of their car and they drive it to the market. They make, oh, the best stuff ever. Homemade jams, spices, and, you know, the best veggies on the planet. Go see them if you can. Support your local farmers markets. It means so much to your community and to your local farmers. Okay, that's our whole recipe. I'm going to stir it up, let it simmer down until it starts to get a little bit thick. And if it doesn't start to get a little bit thick, don't hesitate to take a little bit of water and some more flour, but please make sure, unlike our gravy, you can cut it into butter and throw it in, but if you're going to add flour straight out of the gate, you have to dilute it in something, otherwise it'll clump and make a mess. You don't want that. But just simmer this down until it becomes a little bit thick, and then pour it into a nice large baking dish. And then the next segment, we're gonna make our biscuits. But like I said, I'm gonna cheat this time. And don't hold it against me. We don't bake a whole lot around here. I'm diabetic, and Eric doesn't really eat a whole lot of carbs. So it works out great for both of us not to eat a whole lot of carbs. But in this case, you're gonna want them because they're so good. Anyway, I'll see you in a few.